gentlemen, it's the CBSI Bolo Show! Now sit back and relax as Brian and Jack recap the first appearances, reader buzz, and hottest variants in comic books releasing each and every week. Coming to you from an unidentified command center, here's your host, Brian Wood!
What's going on, guys? This is Brian, Simpleman's Comics YouTube channel, and as always, it's the Thursday night CBSI Bolo Show. Got a great show for you planned tonight, recapping the week's hottest comic book releases, plus we got a pretty big announcement. So before we get into that, let me bring my co-host into the show, Jack DeMeo, aka Mr. Bolo. Jack, bring us in. How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right, man. It's been a long week, but we're here. This is my favorite time of the week.
So, real quick, busy week. Did you do any comic book shopping?
I did not. I was sick most of the week, so I had the flu the first few days of the week. I'm just starting to get over it. Now I got my kids getting strep, both of them. So yeah. I did not make it to the LCS this week. Thank God for pre-orders. You know, that's why I say get a relationship with your dealer.
Right. So, both my kids are dealing with the allergies. One had coughing so much he was throwing up. Then the other one started getting it. And they're on spring break this week, so it's been a lot of fun. They don't want to sleep, but yet they still have to get up early to go to daycare and all that stuff because mommy and daddy still got to work. But, and then it's been a pretty good week. Went to actually, because of spring break, I was able to make it to the comic book store when it opened, so that was a good time. And so good. We're getting people rolling into chat. They're saying audio sounds great tonight, so that's always good to hear. We got Big Leg in there. We got the Simple Jack show. And Dan Pierce is in the chat.
Audio is always the first one.
Yeah, the audio one. That was a big one last week. But and rolling right through it. As always, not only is this show available in video, but we do have audio versions available as a podcast available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. One other thing is this show is sponsored, slabbedheroes.com. If you're looking for modern, graded comics, guaranteed 9.8, make sure you check out Nick at slabbedheroes.com. Great product, great prices, great service. So, having said that, we got, before we get into that, sorry, I'm messing things all up, but we kind of did something kind of cool Tuesday, right?
We did. Something, hopefully is the first of many.
Yeah, so Tuesday, we had an interview with Mad Cave Studios. We pre-recorded it. We aired it as a premiere. I think it worked out great. We had great participation in the chat. Chris Sanchez from Mad Cave Studios. He's the social and PR manager. He was awesome interview. He participated in the chat, answering questions. He's even going back and he's answering comments. So if people are commenting in the video, he's gone back and answered those. And if you missed it, we did announce a giveaway in that video, correct?
We did. So there's a very easy to get involved with giveaway in that video. And we also teased in that video that there would be another one tonight where we would give away, giving a little spoiler list, I'm sure you've already seen the Bolo list, to the long-term pick of the week, a second print, Knights of the Golden Sun #1, which we're going to give away. All you've got to do is go to the original video for the interview with Mad Cave Studios with Chris Sanchez on the debut of the CBSI presents the Indie Spotlight Show, and just go ahead and put that Bolo in the comments. And that you can do that as well as the other comment contest. So you can be entered in twice, 2 different contests, but we're sending you from here to there. Go ahead and put Bolo in the comments, and one person in the next week will win this second print for Knights of the Golden Sun #1, already sold out at most retailers.
Right. So I'll bring us back in. Let me help you out here for a second. So I'll bring up the graphic of what the second print looks like on the screen.
Even better.
So you get kind of a glare, hidden behind a little microphone, but yeah, second print, Knights of the Golden Sun #1. We got the graphic showing up right now. But we're not going to hold people. We put it on social media that we had an announcement to make tonight, and we're not going to hold you up to the end, right?
No, absolutely not. We know why you're here.
Yes, so we have a CBSI Bolo exclusive. And what is that exclusive going to be? I will bring this up here on the screen real quick. This is a pretty cool cover. Classic cover, classic Golden Age, Detective Comics number 31, right? Sought after cover, really, really up there in price. Bob Kane, classic. You would agree, right, Jack?
Absolutely, absolutely. And everyone who watches the Bolo Show, they heard us talk a couple weeks ago about Detective Comics 1000, and then we said this is a time just to have fun with it, to enjoy the 80th anniversary of Batman. So CBSI, we decided to do that our way, and everyone who knows Ben C, the owner of CBSI, knows he's a Golden Age guy, and we jumped all over the opportunity to listen to your comments about who you wanted to see us work with next, and the one overwhelming thing we heard is you wanted to see a CBSI Vault Vintage variant.
Right.
So we listened.
Do we want to show them? You want to bring it up?
I think it's about that time.
Okay, here it comes. Bam.
So there you have it. Queen of Bad Dreams #1 from Vault, releasing this Wednesday. We will have it on release date. And again, just like the last time with Honor and Curse, we're throwing out a special exclusive for our Simpleman's Comics fam, CBSI Nation, and Bolo Live Show watchers. In the description right now is a link where you can go buy this book right now. We haven't put it out anywhere on social media. We haven't put it out anywhere on the website. It's a link right now in this description, and you're getting the first opportunity to go in and grab it. We printed up 500 copies of this book. We have all 500. The publisher did not keep any of them. And we are selling them for $22 each, again, with $2 of every purchase going to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. And just like every other CBSI release, we're going to ship this to you again in a nice Gemini mailer. We're going to send it to you in a My Light bag. We're going to send that with that CBSI sticker of authenticity. And if you're not familiar with Queen of Bad Dreams, then let me bring you up to date what's going on. Now, this is one that should already be on kind of your spotlight. I know Brian, it's a weekly pick for Brian. I'm sure it's going to be an indie spotlight book. I know it'll probably be in our Wednesday Warrior article. These Vault #1s are getting a lot of attention, but this one comes from Danny Lore and Jordi Perez. The cover is by Nathan Gooden. Now, you may not know that name, but I know you're familiar with his work because he has done most of the Vault Vintage variants, including the D Savage Shores #1 second print that has exploded.
Yeah, that Tomb of Dracula.
The Tomb of Dracula, the Swamp Thing, Wasted Space. So his touch has been all over this. Tim S. Daniel is the art designer who has really oversaw this entire Vault Vintage project and has really done an amazing job. And with this book, they're bringing retailers into the fold. So we are one of a select few retailers getting to offer this book in a Vault Vintage variant.
Right. So I got another graphic that's going to show the awesome, what Vault is doing marketing-wise for retailers, right, with their exclusive in the Vault Vintage. But before I get into that, I do want to say huge thank you to Retro Tech with the Super Chat. Definitely appreciate it. As you can see, the Super Chat money is going right back into the production of these videos. We've kind of trying to make it better as we go along. I think we're slowly getting there. But, yeah, the Vault Vintage. Let's bring up the back cover, right? I think it's really cool. That's why I'm actually excited to show it. And that's going to be how it's got the Vault Retailer Vintage. That's the back cover that you see on the left side of the graphic there. I think that's great marketing by Vault. I know you've talked about before, Jack.
Yeah, I really think that Vault does these homages right because they're really not cash grabs. I know that that's what someone can kind of points to with these homages, but when you take a look at this back cover, they're spotlighting 3 different entities on this back cover. The first thing they're doing, and the very first thing, is they're paying tribute to the original book. So they're giving you a write-up on the importance of Detective Comics 31, what the storyline entails, and why it plays into Queen of Bad Dreams. Because again, Detective Comics 31 is a story about Batman having to fight confusing dreams, and Queen of Bad Dreams is about a character who's called an Inspector Judge. And basically, Inspector Judges are tasked with tracking down figments. And figments are kind of like how we talk about figments of your imagination that can actually escape your dreams. And these judges are in charge of going and tracking down these figments. So there was a nice parallel between the two properties, the two books, and the very first thing that Vault does is they pay homage to the original book. And then the second thing they do is they tie in and talk about Queen of Bad Dreams and the release and the creators. And then the third thing they do is they highlight us, CBSI, the person who creates the variant, and they did a nice little write up on us. And for us, we like the idea of being tied into Detective Comics 31, Vault Comics. I mean, those are brands we want to be associated with. So to be on a back cover like that, presented in that fashion, it's incredibly attractive looking, both front and back cover. I couldn't be prouder of this book, and I hope that CBSI Nation and the Simpleman's Comics family really understands that we wanted to listen to you. When we put that first comment contest out there, we heard that you guys, this is what you wanted from us. You wanted something classic. You wanted something kind of horror. You wanted something Vault vintage, and you wanted something homage that you hadn't seen homaged everywhere else. And we really tried to achieve those goals with this book, and I think we did a great job. And it's a testament to the team at comicbookinvest.com and CBSI Comics.
Right. So also, I don't know if you announced it, but this one, we are doing it this time. We're doing $22 copyright.
Right.
And we're still keeping the whole $2 going to St. Jude. Shipping's included, Gemini mailer.
Yep.
So definitely get on that. The link is in the description of this video. I also put in the chat. As we go on throughout the show tonight, we'll bring it back up, of course, for people coming in that might have missed out. But I know I love this cover. I was huge, especially when we started talking to Ben C. and we all got together and started talking about doing an homage variant, especially after the whole These Savage Shores number 1 second print.
Right.
I was chomping at the bit to do These Savage Shores, but it was kind of been done and done and done. So shout out to Ben C. for choosing this cover. He's the one that chose the homage, right? The Detective Comics cover.
Yeah, he is, and like, matter of fact, I had a conversation with Ben C today, and I gotta say, Ben does a great job giving you and I credit for a lot of things, but Ben has been, obviously he's the leader, but he's been so integral in some of these decisions that he has made, in some of the ways that which he has steered things that we were trying to do, and yeah, I think you and I were looking, let's do what we did with Knights and go back and print up a popular book.
We were like, we wanted These Savage Shores Morbius homage, right?
That was our thought.
Yeah, but I kudos to Ben on this one. I think they knocked it out of the park. Kudos to Nathan Gooden, always doing cool covers. Yeah. But
and I really think he's a name to look at, because I did some research in the last few days on him, and he's really kind of up and coming in the game, and I think that that he could be an artist to kind of keep your eye on. And he's also doing the cover B. They are doing a Vault vintage. It's a Madame Xanadu homage cover that'll be available for cover price. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's a definite Bolo. Grab that for cover price at your LCS. It will not last long. Yes. But yeah, so he's doing those. He's doing several of the ones that are announced in the future. We talked on the show a couple weeks ago about how they're moving into like a lot of modern homages, which I think is cool, because you really don't see that. So they're doing Why the Last Man and Transmopolitan and Saga, and I think that that's real cool. But yeah, we went in the opposite direction. We went to the golden age, where I think a lot of people don't take it. They don't go back that far. They stick with that kind of 80s and 90s low-hanging fruit. And, shout out for Ben C. to have that vision of let's do something different. And I really love how it came out. The parallel between the two stories in the books is awesome. It really kind of makes sense intellectually. It plays off. And the more that I've read the book, I've read a preview of the book at this point, the more that I've looked at this book, I really think that this book is going to be a hit. I think that Vault has another one on their hands. And, I'm glad that we're in there on the ground floor entry level with them this time, instead of printing something that's already come out months ago and kind of chasing that market. So it'll be fun to take the ride with Queen of Bad Dreams.
Right.
But they are, again, they're on sale right now. So, the book doesn't come out till next week. This is a good opportunity to get a limited variant right now.
Some people are already putting in the chat that they've gone and they're not just purchasing one, they're purchasing multiple copies. So that's great. Just save some for me because I haven't had a chance to go in and order my copy yet. But so yeah, I think that's a great kickoff to the show. A lot of people probably hold announcements like that towards the end. We want to get it out there, get the news, get the stuff into your hands, and then we think our show is good enough that we don't need to bait you into watching it to get to the end to see what the announcement is. At least I hope our show is good enough. I think our content's getting better as we go along. But the purpose of the show, correct, is hottest comic book releases of the week and the CBSI Bolo list, which we'll bring up here. Bolo list. Me personally, even when I was doing my weekly picks this week, I was like, it's not the best week for comics. There wasn't anything. And then we started it's no longer the Wednesday one. We changed it. We call it the Wednesday Warriors article. That was really hard for me to write this week, especially when you get down towards the bottom, because I hate that there's a spec pick of the week every week, because I don't think there's always a spec book. But you always kind of pick one.
And I also I still haven't figured out my strategy yet for that column. Like, I still haven't figured out what's the best order to put these books in, because I feel like your spec pick, that's kind of your most important. Yeah. Like, that's what you're putting your week on. And honestly, I pick that last sometimes. And sometimes I look at it like I had Major X variant in the incentive, but shouldn't that have been my top spec pick rather than the book I picked? So, it's a growing process, but I'm going to get you, Brian. I'm going to get you.
But, so with that being said, right, Wednesday Warriors, weekly picks, Bolo list, hashtag for CBSI. What is it? We own Wednesdays, right?
We own Wednesdays.
So I got the Bolo list up on the screen here. And there were some good books, I think, after the fact. Even after I go, there wasn't that much. There wasn't a lot, but the stuff that was out, there were some good titles that were out. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and there's some off-the-radar stuff, too. There's some stuff that maybe some people won't see coming, or that, the validity of some things. But that's just, if anything else, it's just more fun to talk about that stuff. Yeah.
So before we get into it, if this is your first time watching this show, first of all, thank you. Second of all, if you can, click that thumbs up button for us. And just to explain the Bolo list, every week it comes out Tuesday nights. It started on Instagram, but now it's all over the place. We have it on Instagram, we have it on CBSI Facebook, we have it on CBSI's MeWe page, we have it on, I posted it on my YouTube community page, anywhere that we have reach on social, Twitter, we post it out, and we've gotten good comments back on it. A lot of people find use for it. So then we kind of made the show about it because we're like, hey, we're putting this stuff out. Let's kind of talk about it the night after. So Bolo list, we go right down the list from confirmed first appearances to reader buzz, variant buzz, and so on and so on. But we're just going to kick it off right now, right? First
let's do it.
This week?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot this week, but we definitely did have a few. First one we talk about on the list, Nightwing 59. That's the first appearance of Burnback. Now, this is one of those first appearances where everyone saw it coming. It was solicited. He's on the cover. Sort of a cool villain. I'm a big fan of Nightwing, and I think there's a certain generation of people who came up Teen Titans into the kind of liked, for the same type of people that like Jason Todd, the rebellious nature against Batman. I kind of am bullish on Nightwing. I talked about in the Wednesday Warrior article the fact that there's a lot of Nightwing variants that are very nice but haven't really popped in the secondary market. And I keep waiting for them too, and I keep picking them up, but they just don't seem to do it. But at conventions, you see a lot of Nightwing fans. You see a lot of Nightwing cosplay. I see a lot of middle-range Nightwing books getting picked up. So I know those fans are out there. I just think that we need a proper Nightwing kind of in the movie, proper Nightwing story told cinematically to really blow this character up. And, part of that process is going to be creating villains and having more of a rogues gallery because he has such a shared rogues gallery with Batman. So you've got to create, his own identity. So normally a lot of these I look at as villain of the week appearances, but, this is one I wouldn't necessarily discount. Obviously, if you're going for the appearance, the cover A has, his name, he's right on the cover. But cover B is striking. And I pre-ordered cover B for sure. I immediately liked it. It has kind of a movie poster quality to it.
Right. That's the Yasmin Putri cover, right?
Correct.
Yep.
I think Putri's a major up and comer. So much of his work is really stunning.
I've been picking up the Avengers No Road Home cover A's just to have the set of all the Yasmin Putri covers for that.
Yeah, those have been really nice too.
Yeah. But and of course the next one, Spider-Man 252, correct?
Right.
Facsimile edition.
Yeah, this is my heater. So I put this in here because there was a couple others that I knew other people would want to be in this list that I just didn't feel comfortable putting in the list the night before. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna throw this one in there. I think we put the Hulk 181 on here. People seem to like that. Everybody seems to like these facsimile editions. They're just fun. Cover price pickups. They're exactly the same as the original book, minus the cover price change. Obviously a different paper quality, but they're great chances to pick up key issues, to have reader copies. They're fun for a younger audience who maybe is priced out of something like this. It's just another cool collectible. So I like these. I think I saw that they are doing like a Howard the Duck one. I think they may be going a little far with it, but I think as long as they stay to real classic issues, I think there'll be a demand for these. But this is obviously the first appearance, or one of the dozens of first appearances of the Black Suit Symbiote Spider-Man, which is obviously debated between Secret Wars 8 and Marvel Age 12, and Daredevil, or the Marvel Team Up 141, and with Daredevil on the cover, and Web of Spider-Man 18, and any other one that an eBay person can put first appearance of the Black Suit Spider-Man. But yeah, so this is the one that I think as kind of Marvel deems as the one. So that with the release of Symbiote Spider-Man, I think that's what's really this has played into it.
Right. And bam, just like that, we're done with first appearances for the week. Bravo. Bravo. But before we move along, I do want to take time to thank more people that are rolling into chat. We got Mighty Mal V, Ben C himself is in here, Sean Leggett, which we mentioned before, Ruben, Jam Sessions, High Road Comics, Jason, I'm not going to say the last name because I'll butcher it. Shane Griffin popped in. He said he couldn't stay to watch, but he just placed his order for the variant. So, as always, thank you everyone that's coming into the chat. And we're going to keep moving along, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
I have to do a little Max Kellerman.
We are going to go right into the Reader Buzz section of it. So, kicking us off for Reader Buzz this week, right? This is a big book. Well, after reading it, the book wasn't that big, but it was hot.
Right.
So hot. And that is Naomi number 4.
Right. So, I mean, at this point, Naomi is red hot. And a lot of this has to do with when these orders have to be in. This is probably the last book that's going to come out within an order window where people were still kind of sleeping on Naomi releases. I expect 5 and 6 to be heavily ordered. Having said that, I'm still extremely bullish on those issues because we still haven't seen the official name. We still haven't seen the official costume. I'm not going to spoil much in issue 4, but those things did not happen. So that's heavily being anticipated. People are waiting on that. People are specking on that. But this Naomi series is on fire. Obviously, Naomi was the talk of the spec community with, some speculation blunders this week within our community that were very unfortunate to see, but certainly had nothing to do with us. But so that's the importance and kind of the level of attention that's being paid to Naomi, where anything that's kind of coming out with Naomi is shooting up in value instantly and is becoming instant social media discussion. So I think Naomi is an example of what this list was created for. This list is for measuring buzz, and there really isn't a buzz stronger right now than Naomi. And I would even say, and this may be a little bit of a hot take, but I think I've heard a couple of other people in private chats mention something like this. And shout out to my eBay dealers who are doing like heavy numbers and can kind of see this kind of stuff. But it always seems like people's attention is placed on one thing. And as I've seen this Naomi rise take over, I've seen kind of Immortal Hulk starting to get a little quieter and a little quieter and a little quieter. Naomi is taking over in the game.
So yeah, you mentioned about the speculation blender. So I had a graphic up there, and I think they were totally wrong because I think they were talking about what was it, Action 1001, right?
1002.
1002. It was really the first appearance of Tootie from The Facts of Life. So yeah, now that we got that straight. But Naomi number 4, I read it. Everyone's hot about it, and to me, yeah, they just spent the whole time talking around a spaceship. And,
Right.
Of course, the last page kind of goes, okay, the next issue is going to have some information in it, but Mrs. Garrett, but still a great read, and I think the interior art on this book is phenomenal, but it wasn't that. I think everyone's picking up expecting the whole origin and stuff kind of play out, but definitely reads. Even the solicitor number 6 for the previews, you could kind of tell, hey, issue number 5 is kind of one
Right.
you might want to pick it up.
And honestly, this whole run is going to be valuable. I'm breaking it down to like, you're going to be able to sell this thing in individual issues. You're going to be able to sell this thing in sets. You're looking at the first printing. Next week they're dropping the final printings on issues 1, 2, and 3. The third printings, they're not going any further than that, even with the demand. So they're cutting this thing off.
So
Mighty Melby in the chat mentioned $500 was a sale this week for a CGC 9.8 on number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, so for all the 600 Facebook posts saying, should I hold or sell, Jack's telling you to hold right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you straight up, I'm in that same position. I shout out to our sponsor, Slabbed Heroes. I jumped on a Slabbed Heroes deal and got a 9.8 for, I want to say, $65. Yeah. And that is no joke.
And they went quick.
$65.
It's not like people weren't sleeping on it. When they saw it, they went and got it.
Right. I'm salty I didn't grab a second print that he had for like $45. That I was being bougie and left that on the table. But no, $65 I've got one. And it's funny because I heard people commenting about the sale of the $500 sale. I know there's some speculation that there may be some shill bidding. But when I saw that, I said to myself, heck, I wouldn't sell it. If I was going to put it up, I'd price it at $500 at least, because this market is crazy right now.
Yeah.
This thing is moving. And, for whatever reason, there just aren't 9.8s on eBay.
Well, I know why you didn't buy that 9.8 second print off Slabbed Heroes, because you were saving your money for this next book, right? Your favorite?
Yes.
Major X Muskrat Love number 2.
Yes, and there are 2 first appearances in this book. They are 2, again, just like Major X. They are 2 characters who previously appeared. They're from that Daredevil, Deadpool and Wolverine crossover from Wolverine like 155 with some of that classic cover. But they have renamed, and now they're from Major X's planet. I haven't gotten a chance to fully read the issue. I just flipped through some preview pages, but that is the reason why they are not on the first appearance list is because I only had one source that said that they were a first appearance, and that source had made some mistakes in the market, especially of recent. And that goes to talk about what we talked about with the Naomi thing. And I've mentioned this. I got tagged on a couple social media posts where people were talking about the Naomi situation, and I heard, well, this is why this, and I heard the Bolo list brought up. And I commented on one specifically. It was a good dude out there. Shout out to I Got Issues. But I commented on one, and I said, it's one of those things where this is why I get hammered every week for missing first appearances, because I would rather miss 5 first appearances and fail to help you make money than to steer you in the wrong direction once with a first appearance, which we've all done before. But it's the biggest thing that we all try to stop and protect against. And if you're not doing that, and if you're not owning that, then you're putting people in a bad position. So I never want to do that. This issue, regardless of the first appearance, though, that's not why this is hot. This is hot because you had to have your orders in for issue number 2 at the exact same time you had to have your order in for issue number 1. So your FOC was the same. So what that causes is, as soon as you saw that spike on issue number 1 and those things going for $15, that should have told you right there issue number 2 was going to do about the same thing. Now I expect to see some correction in the ordering in issue 3 and 4 and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, you're looking at a $15 book. And the variance well above ratio as well. Look at 40, 50.
Right. And we'll talk about that later. You gotta save some for the sequel.
Yeah.
But so this next book, Reader Buzz. There was Reader Buzz. A lot of covers. Well, I'm not a big Buffy fan, so I was kind of like, meh. But there are fans out there, man. They love that show. They love the book. Boom wouldn't make that many covers if there weren't people wanting something out of there. But so what do you got to say about reader buzz on Buffy 4? Besides, well, yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, now this is one we got to be careful because there's two books and there's some variants. There's Boom's Buffy releases this week. Buffy Universe releases are probably half the Bolo list at this point. But so we'll try to break this down kind of in order. But yeah, Buffy is certainly. We talk a lot about properties, licensed properties on this show. IDW and Boom are probably the two leaders in the game for licensed properties, and obviously, I'm very bullish on these types of things. Now, I will say, in full disclosure, I didn't grow up a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. I'm not a that's not my thing. Having said that, I respect fan bases, and there is a fan base. If you go back and watch my very first video interview I ever did with CBSI, I interviewed Donny Cates. And when I asked Donny Cates at the time, he hadn't even been hired yet by Marvel. And I asked him, what are your two dream projects? And I'm talking dream projects, anything. He said, Spider-Man and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's his two dream projects. So the reality is that there are people here that they feel that affinity for it. And we've seen success with the Buffy release. Buffy #1 did well. There were some books that made money, and then they kind of fell back. Buffy #4 is the reintroduction of Angel. Now, some are calling it a first appearance because the take is a little different. It's not really based on the actor from the TV show, which is what the last Dark Horse series based everything kind of heavily. It looks a little different. So some people are calling it first appearance. But really, it's more of a reintroduction, which is why I didn't include it in the first appearance, because Angel obviously has appeared previously in Dark Horse Presents issues dating back to the 90s. But yeah, the issue #4, he shows up. It was not solicited. We knew something was going to happen. There was some major teasing going on in the solicit, but we didn't know exactly what. And yeah, he showed up. There's another issue released in conjunction. So we'll talk about that in a bit. And there, like Brian said, there's several variants, and some of them actually had some decent heat in the market on them. And I just think that this isn't something that is necessarily going to pop extremely short term. But when I start to see, again, I always say follow the money. When you start to see companies investing money, time, energy into these brands, you have to believe it's going to get somewhere. And I really have to believe that Joss Whedon and those guys, they want to bring Buffy back in some sort of cinematic, whether small screen, movie, TV show, streaming service way in the future. And I think that we could be exposing this property to a whole new genre, a whole new group of fans. And this genre is hot right now. This horror, vampire, sci-fi type stuff is doing really well. So I think that they have an opportunity to cash in on kind of that Sabrina heat and Riverdale heat, and carve their own niche in the market. So I don't sleep on this Buffy stuff. I think there's a lot of underpriced and undervalued Buffy keys, and I've actually had some Buffy first appearances in the Bolo, back issue Bolo section, which is exclusive to the comicbookinvest.com Bolo list, only on the website. We don't put that on IG. We don't put that here on YouTube. We don't put that anywhere else.
Right. So, interesting topic is, say they do want to bring it back to the small screen, big screen, right? The show originally was on the CW, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah, CW.
Now, if they're going off the Boom property, doesn't Fox have a first look deal with Boom properties? Is that correct?
They do.
So, and that
would.
And that would.
That CW having not used it in years, that property might have reverted back.
Right, and true, but that would make for a good deal, because especially with the CW having those Riverdale shows and those still shows like that, if Fox had that first look deal with Boom and they could use that property, it might make for something. Whatever Fox has left, I guess. I don't know, right? Because now that Disney, and they have 60% of Hulu or something like that now too, or this is crazy. But it'd be interesting to see, and those books would be great content to go off of if they wanted to bring it back as a TV show or a movie or whatever.
The key to speculation is, if you're buying what everyone else is buying, then you're just chasing you're chasing the market, and that's what happens with these, with the apps and even speculation communities. Like if all you're doing is buying what everyone likes, then you're going to be behind the market, because then the market's going to move before you're prepared to sell. So this is something that I'm kind of still in my research phase. I try to say on this show, I'm transparent as heck with what I speculate on. I tell you guys what I'm buying. I tell you what I'm selling and what I'm trying to sell it for. I haven't made any Buffy moves yet, but I'm planning some for sure, because I really think that there's going to be some money in this. And I've been doing my research on pricing and stuff like that. And I just like a lot of the pricing. So I grabbed some variants for number 1. I grabbed some variants for number 4. And that was kind of my first jump into it. But, I'm keeping my eye on that market. I'll say that.
Right. So before we go to the next book, Ben Holkamp in the chat said, need to have the Bolo list on the screen, like part of the interruption. I'm trying to work on stuff like that, because I can't just have the picture up all the time, because we got prime real estate on the screen. As you noticed this week, we no longer have the live chat going on, trying to make it a little bit better. But I'm working on that type of menu where it's basically like part of the interruption, where we can
like a scrolling menu.
Yeah, so we're working on it. My ingenuity just hasn't gotten there yet. But that's a great suggestion.
One thing I gotta give Brian, again, I give all props to Brian. Every week something gets better. And again, if you've seen our debut of our new show, the CBSI presents the Indie Spotlight show with Andy Tomberlin, we got done with that show, and I said to Brian, I said, man, I don't think we did a great job. And Brian said, well, let me work on it. And man, the way he cleaned that thing up and made Andy and I look about as good as we could, I really got to give it to Brian, man. He's amazing. So yeah, he'll hear those suggestions. So guys, throw them out at him. Let him know what you want to see.
Right. Yeah. I do what I can. That's for sure. But so moving right along into the reader buzz is which we kind of touched on. It was the Angel number 0, and this was the book that it was kind of like Die. Was it Die, right? Where it was just like they shipped it with the same amount with their order of Buffy, right? If they ordered however many they ordered of Buffy number 4, they got the same amount for Angel, or how did that work again?
Buffy number 3. Whatever your order for. See, that's the thing, is this is where they get you. This is where it's got to be based on your real loyalty, because Buffy number 4 was, in the solicit, they definitely leaned on saying that some major events were going to happen. The solicit for number 5 hits you with one of those based on the events of issue 4. So there was some lead-in. So you got shipped copies based on how many you ordered of issue number 3, and they just showed up with your issue number 4 shipment. So stores did not know they were getting this until Diamond invoices started showing up. But yeah, you have the release of Angel number 0. This comes simultaneously, as we said, with Buffy number 4. So if it's a first appearance, if that's what you want to call it, in the Boom universe, they would kind of both be tied. And as you can see, I don't know if you want to talk about the variant.
Let's just talk about this and kill it off the variant buzz list.
Okay. Yeah. So this came in 2 covers, and I will say I did hear reports of LCS is missing this, because as you can see, it's very subtle. The difference in the 2 covers is one has Angel as a human, one has him with his vampirized face. And on the back, by the barcode, you have the typical, if you guys know your barcodes, it'll say 0 for the issue number, and then 2 for variant, and then 1 for being a first printing. And then it'll say thank you right above the barcode. And that's the 2 differences. Now, the thank you variant, the vampirized, I don't even know if that's a word, but venomized is a word, vaporized is a word. But the vaporized variant, it sold all over the place. It's really hard to gauge a price. I've seen it sell for as high as 70 and as low for 20. And I think a lot of that happens with these 1 per store variants, because you don't have a ratio to per se go by. And also stores view them differently. A lot of stores get them in, they're like, oh, cool, it's a free Buffy book, sure. Give me $10-15, I'm happy with that. Other stores were sitting there milking these because they really bought into, say, the speculation, or maybe they have, a customer base. So this is one that I think is one to keep an eye on, because if I'm right about where I think this is going to go, and I know that Boom is heavy behind these Buffy releases, And I'm going to go ahead and tease this right now. Be on the lookout for some future Indie Spotlight series show Boom Studios content coming very soon, and we'll be able to get you some more clarification on some of that stuff. But I think that I've seen, all you got to do is go follow their social media. They're really behind these releases, and I think that thank you variant would be a major get. So keep an eye out at your LCS. I'm not advocating you overpay for that book at all. I'm not advocating you go out and pay 40, 50, 60, 70 bucks for it unless it's something you really want. But if you can grab it cheap, grab it.
I grabbed it just because it was mixed in with the regular covers.
That's amazing.
And I caught the Bill Compton cover. I was like waiting for him. I just was holding it and I was like, Suki! Suki! But yeah, it's basically the True Blood Bill Compton. I was like, I don't know who Angel is, but I like Bill Compton. But so yeah, I caught one. It was mixed in and regular price. I don't know if they were aware, but yeah. I was like, yeah, basically broke my one commandment, like buy what you like. That one I just bought because I was like, hey, I know this shouldn't be regular price, but I'm gonna buy it.
Nah, that's the thing is like dealers, you really gotta watch and pay attention to the market. This news was out there the day before release. Boom wanted it to be a surprise, but I know that news was out there. So, those dealers, you got to check in on those things. But what was Midtown was charging a fortune for theirs, weren't they?
Midtown is like the new DCBS with books, man.
I want to say they were charging like 80 or something like that.
Midtown, but they done gone bad. They breaking bad. Demi, why you do this to me, Demi? But yeah, moving on. Next one on the list this week. I'm always excited when this book comes out, and that is Knights of the Golden Sun #6. Always excited, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But
me either. Checked out some preview pages on this one as well. Looks absolutely amazing. And again, we're looking at Knights of the Golden Sun. It's at this point, it's predictable. It's solid. I can't imagine why more of the spec community haven't jumped on these issues. I don't know if they think when we're talking about this, I think people are cynical. I think they think, these guys are pumping and dumping Mad Cave stuff. That's, they've got the relationship. I saw a comment on another YouTuber's YouTube video, trying to say like we're in bed with a publisher or this, and it's really funny because you're missing opportunities because you're just wrong. Yeah. We're just trying to tell you that there's a community out here buying these books, and Mad Cave is still a small growing company, and we got a great opportunity to sit and talk to them about their origin in this week with the Indie Spotlight series show. I encourage everybody to watch it. If anything else, aside from watching our content, it sharpens your spec game because it's going to give you a little insight on Mad Cave, where they're at, what they're doing, and will help you in the future when you're deciding your spec plays. But every single Knights of the Golden Sun book upon release has hit double digits, has sold out at retailers. I don't think people realize that like the first print was printed with like 1,000 copies of #1, and then they did an 800 print store variant, and then there was our book, and that was it. So we're talking like micro prints on these. We're not talking image prints. We're not talking Dark Horse prints. We're talking real, true indie prints. This is a small company from Miami, Florida, who's just grinding out super quality content. And this issue, I expect no less. The series ends with issue 7, right, Brian? So we got one more.
Yeah, one more, and then that ends this chapter or volume, you want to call it.
All right, first part of the trilogy. To do like we talked, and another thing we talked about on the show, Mad Cave style of releasing. They do it kind of the Mignola-verse style of a trilogy of mini-series that will all over-arc and tie into each other, and they will span a longer time period, or can span a longer time period than a typical story would. And I just think that we haven't quite hit the kind of plateau of where Knights of the Golden Sun is going to go, because they're going to, again, we got 2 more mini-series to go. I do not count out. I know it's a biblical story, meaning that it's like it would be like effects heavy type thing, but I absolutely think that this could be adapted at some point, and you're going to want to be in on those early stage ground floors. So be on the lookout for those cover price copies of those early issues, and check out the Mad Cave web store.
Because that's what I was going to say. If you don't have them at your store, make sure you go to their web store, because they got them. and they ship decent. So great book. I can't even say that because I haven't read it yet, but I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's making no sense.
Yeah, I really just checked out some out of order preview pages, so I was really just looking at, like, again, the Mauricio Villarreal art is just incredible. I know he's just getting his career started, and I think there could become a time where we're going to be very proud that our first 2 CBSI variants under the CBSI Comics banner were his covers.
Right. So, moving right along. Set food, fancy free. War of the Realms number 2, right?
Right.
Another one. Didn't quite have 72 covers like the first one did or whatever, but still had quite a few covers. I didn't read this. I did read War Scrolls though, but I just picked up the regular Arthur Adams cover on this. It's Arthur Adams that does the regular cover, right? I know he did the first one. But I like the one in 25, which make sure that wasn't in your variant buzz section. But
Nope. No, I actually did have someone complain that it wasn't. So there was some call for it, but it's one of those things I always tell people, don't complain to me after the Bolo list comes out. You're supposed to tell me before the Bolo list comes out that you think it's going to be hot. That's how it gets on the Bolo list.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Bolo.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You let people know to be on the lookout. If you're telling me after the fact, you ain't letting anybody know.
Yeah.
But
clap out that Bolo list.
You know? But so this, I don't want to give away spoilers. There's obviously a major event in this book. We had a death, and the death is going to clear the way for a new character in a new series, and will also clear the way for the validity of another character from the MCU. So we're talking Valkyrie here, and we're talking the many Valkyries, and I don't want to spoil things, but this issue was very good. I actually got a chance to read the digital copy all the way through.
We got a new subscriber, Nick Harrison. Thanks.
Oh, shout out Nick. So we got a chance to. I had a chance to read this one all the way through. It's a really good book. I think Jason Aaron is killing it. I see how it's going to tie into his new book, his new Valkyrie book. I think there's a lot of back issues to keep your eye on. I'm going to tell you to go ahead and check that comicbookinvest.com Bolo list article again. Even if you're already getting the Bolo list from IG or from YouTube or somewhere else, Twitter, Facebook, make sure you're coming to comicbookinvest.com and checking that back issue Bolo list, because we talk about those Exiles issues. There's even a few more Exiles issues I'll probably cover next week, because I think there was a couple I left out.
Yep.
But so we'll talk about some Exiles. Let's talk about some Exile stuff. I also am probably going to get into next week talking a little Jane Foster. So, there's value there. But I think Jason Aaron's got a real good story here.
Did you say Jane Fonda?
Jane Foster. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of spec value in the overall story. I think this is a true reader story. The one thing I will say is Marvel has shown the propensity to take these miniseries and make movies, but I think that would be a very long game, because we're still, it's not like we've made a Secret Wars movie, or, we're still behind, but that's something to kind of keep an eye on, putting sets together. That's where I see kind of some value in it, but really it's a fun read. I think this is one that's going to be great to pick up in a trade. I think Brian mentioned it weeks ago. This is really actually an omnibus pickup where you can get all the tie-ins and everything else in there in one shot and have fun, but a lot of the variants have also been really cool, and the artwork has been incredible. The one thing I haven't done is I haven't read any of the tie-in series. That stuff always complicates things for me, but so I just would rather wait for the trade, but I've been reading I read 1 and 2 so far.
Well, I didn't read number 2 yet, but I did read, like I said, I read the War Scrolls, and I read that mostly just for the Jason Aaron story, because Daredevil gets a Heimdall's sword in it, which is pretty cool. Short, like probably 5-6 pages, but great story. And then of course Ram V, who writes These Savage Shores, had another story in there that Wolverine and Punisher team up in. That was pretty good. There was a Howard the Duck story in there too, but anyhow, War Scrolls was good. I enjoyed reading that, and then of course I read Naomi. There's only 2 books I've gotten to read so far this week, but yeah. Moving last book of the Reader Buzz section this week, right?
Right.
And that's Guardians of the Galaxy number 4.
So this is honestly I didn't read this book, but there hasn't been a lot of buzz post the release of this book. So if anybody read this, throw us in the comments. Let us know how you felt about this book. But we're really starting to see this Dark Guardians story start to unfold more. We're starting to get kind of a idea of the team and the direction they're going. The kind of the change in Peter Quill. We're seeing kind of Groot go through some changes. Kind of we're seeing like a punk rock kind of teenage Groot who's very angsty, very upset about the way the Guardians have kind of become. And I think this is all going to lead into, a Bolo out there for issue 7, where it looks like we're going to see the possible death of Rocket Raccoon. And again, I don't put anything past Donny Cates. I mean, he is getting that reputation of being like a Jim Starlin like killer of characters. So Rocket Raccoon would get a lot of attention. Death issues are tough. We've all been baited into death issues. I still have a short box full of Batman New 52 number 40s when Bruce Wayne died. But at the same point, I think there could be some interest, because that's the type of thing that would get mainstream media attention. So keep an eye out for that. But I think that's what this is going to lead into.
So yeah, Comic Smurf, and there said it was a really great issue. Speaking of which I always say, which I didn't have a chance to say so far tonight, is if you are in the chat and you guys have a YouTube channel as well, make sure you put that in the chat so everyone in there can see everyone's YouTube channels and be able to have a chance to view your content and subscribe to your channel as well. It's all one community, so always happy to share stuff out with others.
And let me jump in here right now. I don't have like a formal. I should have had something formally put together. I actually dropped.
You better not talk about Comic Wars, because I was doing that next. Writer Wars.
Oh, don't you talk. Oh, you said Comic Wars. I was like, oh, are you serious? But no, yeah, that is what I was gonna do. But go ahead.
No, it's all yours. Writer Wars.
No, yeah. So what I wanted to say, I said I wish I had something more formally put together. But to all you content creators out there, head to comicbookinvest.com. Whenever the show is over, watch the whole rest of the show. But the rest of you content creators, check it out. We've got Writers Wars going on right now. It is a contest where you can win prizes, but more importantly, what you can do is this is your opportunity to join the squad. Join this contest. Like we've talked about this on previous shows. Heavyweights from Andy Tomberlin, Peter Reyna, Philip Newton, Ben Stein have all come by way of Writers Wars. They have all entered the battlefield, gone out there and written articles, having no idea how they were going to be received, and then they've done so well, they've become part of our team, members of our community. So yeah, I encourage any content creator out there right now. I'm always saying that instead of criticizing CBSI, come join CBSI. Come contribute. If you have a voice, if you have speculation knowledge, what we're particularly looking for is niches and areas of collecting, speculating, and of the hobby that we're not currently covering. So I love to see things that are articles that we don't already see on the site. So like something like Peter Reyna does dollar bin digging for CBSI. So I know a lot of people want to write like a dollar bin cat article, but we already have one. So you're going to struggle with that. So that's just a big Bolo tip out there for you guys. Come with something that's original. Come with something that's new that hasn't been seen. But I know in this chat right now, we've got some seriously talented content creators you may have your own YouTube thing going. You may have your IG game going. But writing for the site is only going to help build your brand bigger, and your brand and our brand can work together. So if there's anybody out there, now's your opportunity to show your mettle, show your stuff. Put your skills where your mouth is, and let's see what's going on. And I'm excited to see what comes out, because I know that right now the YouTube comic community, the IG comic family, there's so much talent out there right now.
Right, and not only that, with the Writer Wars contest, there's actually some good prizes going on out there. So make sure you go to comicbookinvest.com. It's right there on the front page, and check out the article there. And if you want to put fingers to keyboards and write your words, by all means, that's what it's there for. So we've wrapped up the Reader Buzz section. Let's go back here real quick. We'll go to screen with both of us. Bring the Bolo up so we can kind of catch up to where we are. So if you just get into the show, we've gone through the first appearances for the week. We've gone through the Reader Buzz of the week. But also, at the beginning of the show, we announced a new CBSI exclusive variant from Vault Comics. It's a Detective Comics 31 homage cover for, what is it?
Queen of Bad Dreams.
Number 1.
Number 1. Oh.
So I will put the link back in the chat. The link is also in the description of this video. $22, cheaper than what we've been having them for.
Yep.
Limited to, what was it, 5? What's the print run again?
500. Limited to 500. We will have all 500, so you don't have to worry about the publisher competing with us or anything like that. We have them all. All the issues will be numbered 1 through 500. They are on sale right now for $22. You guys watching the Bolo live show, you're getting that first opportunity. And yeah, the book releases next Wednesday. We should have it on release day, ready to ship. Probably another day for processing, but we will have this book on release day as it drops next week.
Right. So yeah, definitely one that we're all proud of. Huge Vault supporters. So Mad Cave Vault, Indy. I know Jack, Andy Tomlin, and writes Indie Spotlight, myself, we're all a huge advocate for indie titles, but and Ben C, again, shout out to Ben C. He's the one that came up with the idea for the Detective Comics 31 homage. So shout out to Ben C.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Brian, myself, Andy, we're just big DIY guys. Yeah. We like to see some guys, some companies out here grinding, trying to come up. It's good for the hobby. Yeah. It's good for the industry as a whole. And nowadays, with with the way this adaptation works, being indie doesn't mean you're small anymore.
Right. So we've gone through first appearances, which we even talked about earlier. The first appearance of Trudy on a cover. You missed out on great content there, and we've gone through Reader Buzz. So now coming up, we have the Variant Buzz section. Right?
Right.
So we kind of touched on this, or the book in general, but we didn't really discuss the variant, and that was the Major X number 2. Was that the Phil Noto variant? Correct.
Phil Noto variant. So artwork on these books has been heavily discussed.
Yeah. Especially the regular cover.
Yes, the regular cover. It is a Rob Liefeld classic.
Muskrat Love.
Yes, very unique-y. But yeah, this Noto is definitely a step up. But I will say, you and I have both talked multiple times on this show how we both are Phil Noto fans. I don't necessarily think this was Noto's best delivery.
Right.
Having said that, this is not hot because you love or hate Rob Liefeld. This is not hot because the art is amazing. This is hot simply because, again, there is a consensus within the comic community. Well, if I don't like something, nobody likes something. Or if I hear some loud minority of people saying something, then therefore that's how everybody feels. And people did not order this book because of that negative Rob Liefeld sentiment. And the reality is there is still a diehard Rob Liefeld fan base. Again, issue number 2, the orders had to be in with issue number 1, and you're talking about a 1 in 25 incentive variant. So how many stores foresaw issue number 2 being worth 25 copies? Now, you may say 25 copies isn't a lot, but again, if you're a new listener to the Bolo live show, we've talked several times about how many small stores exist in America who don't order 25 copies of a regular book, even a number 1, let alone a number 2, and in a title that was kind of panned pre-release and has really caught people off guard. But not this guy who has told you the whole time, get on this Rob Liefeld train.
Right. And there's some brotherly love going on in the chat with Big Leg and Ben C. But,
shout out Big Leg, the CBSI OG, one of the originals from the G+.
Definitely. Also, Miliano put it in the chat, but if you guys are looking for some of that good CBSI swag, make sure you go. What's the website again? CBSISwag.com?
CBSISwag.com.
Yeah, hard to remember, right? But yeah, if you want some of those CBSI shirts, hats, all types of good stuff, $10 Comic Cop. Those are great shirts, especially with, what's going, there's about $1, a lot of those Comic Cops out there.
Right, yeah, so we got to call them out. So, blow your whistle to get the $10 Comic Cop shirt. You might have saw me last week hyping up Major X, or a couple weeks ago with my Deadpool shirt. That's a CBSI swag shirt. Yeah. So, you see Brian and I wearing a lot of that stuff. Right. So definitely definitely, it's con season, guys. So show that you're CBSI pride when you're up in the convention. Connect with other CBSI members. Let these dealers know you ain't playing. You know your business. So grab that CBSI swag.
Yeah, I'm representing the New Day tonight, of course. Best
It's a new day.
tag team champion in WWE. I won't say history. Won't go there.
They're getting there.
But don't you dare be sour. So, moving right along. I can be sour about Major X, but I know Jack's there to... Jack loves it. To be honest, I'm not for or against it. Major X.
I'm here to play the heel. That's what I'm here for, baby.
But, yeah. So, the next one on the list, which we kind of already talked about, I'm just going to pass over. That was Angel Number 0. Thank you variant. But this one, out of all the Buffy covers, there were some great covers, but I don't have both of the Friesen covers up here. I actually liked the colored one better, but this, of course, is the one that everyone was looking for, and it's the Jenny Friesen Bandcamp variant.
Right.
We had the Bill Compton Thank You variant, and this is the Bandcamp Friesen variant.
Right, so this is obviously depicts Allison Hannigan, who was in the original Buffy series and was known for American Pie. Jenny Friesen did this variant. It's a Virgin 1 in 50. The buzz from this surrounded the fact that at one point Midtown sold out. They sold out, and then word started to kind of scatter in the speculation community that, this book is sold out. And then Midtown had more copies. So I don't know what the deal with that was, whether it was an error or whether they were able to secure more copies, whether they were able to up their order because they were still, it might have been a situation where Diamond still had copies sitting in the system of Buffy 4 and they went and upped their order. But this book is selling for about $50 now. So I think I'm going to take a brick on this being my top spec pick for this week because it's selling at basically ratio. But I think that this is one you're going to need to hold a bit to see long-term returns on. Yeah. Having said that, I agree with you. I think one of the things that hurts it is I think the color version is so much better. I'd rather have seen them just do the Virgin cover and kept it with the regular kind of color palette. But I think, again, Jenny Friesen is somebody who is just rising. And there's going to come a time where probably the fact that she has done this art is going to be a big deal. And I would keep a lookout for that Buffy #1 she did a variant for that is really underpriced. Really underpriced. You can get that cheap, and I want to say it's a 1 in 25 variant. I've seen it as low as $6.
Right. And just paying attention. So I kind of want to bring up there's a channel in the chat right now, Downright Nerdy Podcast. They're in the chat. They just talked about picking up CBSI swag. I did want to give them a shout out. I haven't had a chance to buy a frame for it, but I won a contest on their Instagram. It's a sweet Spider-Man poster, so when I get it framed, I'll show it off. But if you do like pop culture and comic book stuff, definitely check out Downright Nerdy Podcast. I'm jealous of the room that he has set up and that he's filming in. One, it's a lot cleaner than mine, and two, it's just freaking phenomenal, and they got great content too. Definitely check out Downright Nerdy Podcast on YouTube, and of course they have their podcast is on iTunes and Stitcher, I believe. But shout out to them.
Brian turned me on to their show, and I gotta say, I really love their content. Doing a great job.
Yeah. So moving right along in the variant buzz, we asked last time, do you think have they announced the 6th print yet?
They haven't done it yet, but I'm salty at this point after the last situation, so I'm convinced it's happening. As we talked about a couple weeks back, when they released the 4th print, I was really bullish on the 4th print, which, I mean, I still am. But the main reason why I thought the 4th print was going to have real validity was they said that it was going to be the final printing of the book.
Right.
And we've seen such demand for Die beyond any other independent release of 2019 by far. And so I really felt like that was going to be the book to grab, but here we are. We're talking about a 5th print. And again, the creators put out there that the demand was just so high they had to do it. Well, yeah, I hear you, but that's how you keep that demand high. But they released this print, and it sold out just as fast.
Yeah. You
couldn't find it anywhere. I think, again, obviously I talked last week for my long-term spec play. I'm a big advocate of late printings. I think there's still a contingent of dealers who sleep on them conceptually. They just think that as a whole, there isn't money in them, or they're just reader copies, and they're not ordering these books. I've even walked into big LCSs that have had 5 or 3 of books like this, and it's, you know, I look back and say, well, you're getting an opportunity to order Die #1, or next week you're going to get an opportunity to order Naomi #1.
Yeah.
Do
you think you're going to get to a point where there's more printings of issue #1 than there is of actually issues in the series? Like eighth printing of Die #1, but we're only on issue 7.
There very well could be, and they're definitely going to get to a point where the later printings print run combined will be more than the original print run for sure.
Well, there's a reason why they're doing that many printings though, because the story is good, especially if you're like
right.
D&D fan and of course Stephanie Hahn's art, but yeah.
And we've been telling people, like, if this thing doesn't get adapted, then I don't know what I'm doing. Right. Like, I've never read a book that seems more ready for that Stranger Things kind of crowd. So, I say I'm transparent as heck on this show. I've put a lot of money into Die because I really believe in it. And I haven't sold a Die book yet. Yeah. At all. I've had some buddies message me proud of their Die sales, and I've told them I am not selling one yet. I'm waiting. I'm long game in this book.
You might die first.
You're right. Right. This week I felt like that was going to happen.
Yeah. Jack was going poo-poo. Sorry, a little bit too much. But, hey, let's move on to next up was Transformers #3. This is the cover B. I actually really like this cover. I've only read the first issue so far of this new series, that's new era of Transformers. I enjoyed the first issue and need to catch up. It's just, man, so many great books out and so little time in the day to be able to read stuff. But what's the buzz on this?
This is a weird one. I don't know. I just know that it's sold out at most retailers. I know that I saw spec pickups of people's new comic book day hauls, and this book was in so many new comic book day hauls. This may be a systemic thing where we've seen this before, where it's like a domino effect.
People is this a 1 in 10?
No, that's the thing.
Yeah,
the
it's
1 in
regular
10
price, right?
Didn't sell out, right? Yeah, the 1 in 10 didn't sell out. People wanted this cover B. Now, I saw this once before with a G.I. Joe book a couple weeks ago, where G.I. Joe cover B was popular. People liked the cover, so they grabbed it, but the incentive didn't do anything. And so I don't think it's for the guts of this book. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think people like the cover. Yeah. And if I had to guess, Midtown was sold out early in the week on this. If I had to guess, people saw that.
Oh, yeah.
And anticipated. Because there's a lot of that in the hobby. We've been accused of that's what the Bolo list is. It's just, reporting Midtown sellouts, but that's not true because Midtown has 10 times the sellouts of any book that's on the Bolo list. But, I think once they sold out first, people start going, well, maybe there's something to this book. I need to grab this book. Maybe people know something I don't know. And I'll say even myself, when something like that happens, I say, well, do people know something I don't know? But then I started, researching it. It didn't really look like there was anything here. It just looks like people like that cover. And I think that cover artist, went and looked back, has seemed to have done well with Transformers variants. So I wish I had the name of the artist, but that's something to keep an eye out for, is there could be something there. You're not talking, I don't think there's going to be money to be made on the secondary market on this book in the short term. Having said that, I want to put a plug out there for the Walker Report on comicbookinvest.com.
Yes.
I have gotten so much of my Transformers knowledge just by sitting back and watching what Tim does, because there are so many books when you start talking about 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old Transformers books that cover Bs will do solid money because they're just gone from the market.
It's
I'll give
Anna
go ahead.
Malkova is the artist for that cover. Sorry.
So I'll give you a tip. Some of those early Transformers spotlights, the one-shots, there's some cover Bs on those, which you just can't find anymore in the market. But and they command good prices. So I'm not saying that this book couldn't be that later on down the road, but I really couldn't find a good reason why this had buzz, but it did. So it's on the list, and I think it's a good one to talk about, because this does happen sometimes. Not every book we put on the list is it Mr. Bolo's spec play, or is it Brian's spec play. I felt good that you actually picked it on the Wednesday Warrior article, because I was like, all right, well, there's more credence to this book because I was seeing it. I was seeing it everywhere. I've seen everybody talking, people within those communities talking about it, within those, that kind of buy those IDW books and those licensed properties. But I didn't understand why. And then when I started to see people's pickups and I started to see people going to their LCS who wouldn't usually buy it, picking it up, something told me there's a lot of follow the leader going on with this book here.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't, like I said, I haven't read it. I've only read the first issue, so I couldn't tell you. I think it's might be cover alone right now. But what is it for $3.99? It's
Right.
It's worth the risk at that point. I mean, even if you're just reading a Transformer book, to me, it's worth reading. I mean,
well, and Mighty Male V said that there's a possibility. He asked. He's not saying that could be a first appearance on the cover. I don't believe that it is. I know that this is issue 3. I know there's a lot of talk about possibly issue 4 or issue 5 having a first appearance coming up in it from a female Transformer. And I know the last time they first appeared, a female Transformer, it did big money.
yeah, and it's also like Megatron's building his like police force or something like that, right? That's starting to come together in this issue.
Right. So I think there could be some anticipation with that coming in. But yeah, I haven't read this issue enough to know if it is a first appearance in this issue, then the book is actually undervalued right now from where it could be long term. But I haven't heard a single word of that yet. I think that could be just some people jumping the gun again on cover, but because there are female Transformers already, but I don't know enough. I don't want to speak on it. I don't want to have my Transformers experts shooting my head off.
Right. So that wraps up the variant buzz. Before we get into your long-term play, we announced, like I said at the beginning, we did announce the Queen of Bad Dreams Vault, right? This is our first variant with Vault.
Yes.
And it's the retailer vintage. But before we go into more of that, we do still have some copies available of Honor and Curse, right? Number 1.
We do. We have a limited number of copies left of Honor and Curse number 1. They are still available on the site, and
there's also a giveaway going on our Facebook page right now for it, the CBSI community Facebook page.
Absolutely.
So definitely check that out. All the details for it are in there. It relates to the Indie Spotlight video that we just had, but definitely check out Facebook. And we still have some more giveaway copies of that going on, where you're going to be giving those on pretty much all CBSI social, right? Between Tales from the Flipside, Instagram, Facebook, MeWe. There's a couple even for Simpleman's Comics channel. But so there are giveaways coming, but there are still a few for sale if you're interested in those. But
yeah, and don't sleep on those. Again, if you watch our interview, the debut of the Indie Spotlight series show, Chris Sanchez from Mad Cave talks about how Honor and Curse actually has for them almost more demand than Knights of the Golden Sun. That it really built off that, and he feels, and I think we've talked about how the secondary market's sleeping on Honor and Curse even more. So I'm just it's our book and we're happy with where it's at, but so I'm not trying to hard sell you. But obviously that Knights of the Golden Sun number 1, that CBSI variant has sold regularly for in the 70s and 80s. Honor and Curse, we're still sitting with copies available, so it probably wouldn't pop until copies sell out. But we're running low; it's getting limited, so you guys be on the lookout.
Yeah, the Mauricio Villarreal cover for it is awesome. But enough talk about that. It's there, but. So the Bolo list, we have gone through the first appearances for the week, we've gone through the reader buzz for the week, and we've gone through the variant buzz. So now we have Jack's long-term play.
Right. So this week was a tough, as Brian mentioned earlier, this was a tougher week. So when I'm looking at a long-term play, I think that this book, to me, is a little bit, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but at the same point, I think it really, it's the antithesis of a long-term play. Obviously, we've talked about Knights of the Golden Sun. We've talked about the validity of it as a spec property. But just to give you a little math, and I broke this down a little bit earlier, the original print run was about 1,000 copies for the first print cover A. Mad Cave commissioned the Vanessa Del Rey Virgin variant that you can get on their web store. So if you haven't seen that, it's a Virgin wraparound cover by Vanessa Del Rey. You should check out the Mad Cave web store. The link is actually in our video for the debut of the Indie Spotlight Series show, so you can go check that out. When you go check out the video and you put your comment in the comment section Bolo, so you can win a free copy of this Knights of the Golden Sun #1 second print that I happened to get early from Mad Cave because I tried to order their first print. They didn't have it in stock, so they hit me up with that second print. I had a release date, which I think is something that is just amazing customer service to do that. The second print, you get the villain Lucifer, really super cool cover. I think it plays well with the first print. You kind of get that light and dark. I think it looks really cool, and also kind of like color contrast. It goes really well with our Honor and Curse variant as well. I think that Mauricio Villanueva, we talked about, when we talk about up and comer, I mean, you talk about somebody who literally just months ago answered a help wanted ad. He's only at the he's at the beginning stages of his career. He's in Columbia, not South Carolina, not Missouri, the country.
Columbia.
Columbia. So, you know, he's really kind of new to the game, but I look at his art and I think that we've got nothing. It's digital, and there's some people that aren't going to love the digital style, but we've got nothing but rave reviews for it. You know, I would love to continue to work with him. I'd love to work with him and do some other variants with him. I think he's done a great job, but I think he nailed this cover. I think it's other thing is, again, it plays into the other thing that I talked about. It's a late printing, so you don't get as many. And to drive back home to the math, the Vanessa Del Rey wraparound was 800 copies printed. The original cover A was 1,000 copies printed, and we did a variant of 250 copies. And, you know, at that point, you're looking at, that's all the copies that were printed. You're looking at 2,000 copies. Now, again, we've seen organic reader buzz take this book 8 times cover price at its height. It now sits, the first print, around 2 to 3 times cover price. Or way more than that, because it's $20 to $30 regularly. You know, you're looking at a book who has already shown the validity of demand, and now we're at a point where we talked about there's going to be 2 more series to go with this trilogy. You're only going to build on this. You're only going to keep increasing your readership. Mad Cave has new series they've already announced, which again, it's only going to increase their readership. As people go back to grab these back issues, I don't see these things going down. I only see them going up. And I don't know what the printing of the second print is, but I imagine it's going to be tiny. So this is not a book that most people reached out to me yesterday and told me they either couldn't find it at all at their store, or, you know, if they saw it, they only saw a couple copies. And people couldn't find that first print. So this is, again, where I feel like retailers, they should look at it like, you know, I couldn't get that first print, or I missed out on that first print. Let me load up on that second print so I can take care of all those people. But we don't see that.
Yeah, and if you want it yourself, make sure you go to Mad Cave store because they got some up there.
Right. And that's what I did, because I had, you know, Brian had to put Mad Cave in his pull with his LCS. Yeah. I had trouble with my LCS with Mad Cave. They had a couple mistakes where they forgot. And, you know, it got to a point where, I went straight to Mad Cave for my last couple orders. I did 2 orders. So, you know, and I'll give the Mad Cave team credit in that the first package they sent me wasn't great, and they improved their shipping a bit from package 1 to package 2. So I will give them that credit there. They're learning. So it's, again, small company, small staff. They're working hard. And they were over inundated with orders. They were lit up from the CBSI Nation when we posted that their web store was open and was doing a 50% off sale, which is another reason why you guys need to be following us on social. At Comic Book Invest CBSI on Instagram, at Simpleman's Comics on Instagram, at AKA Mr. Bolo on Instagram. Definitely for indie comics, check out at Indie Spotlight Series. You know, we're letting you guys know when we see things like this. We're not holding them back. So I hope you guys jumped in on some of these deals like we did. But just to reiterate and to, you know, wrap it up. We really want to get as many eyes as we can on the Indie Spotlight Series show. Not just for Brian and I's sake, but because, you know, we got Andy on board. This is Andy joining Team Simpleman's. We really want to develop more content with Andy. And I've talked about it before. We're going to hit some conventions in the summer. We're going to do some things. So go ahead and check out that video. Type Bolo in the comments. And you're going to be entered to win one of the second prints of Knights of the Golden Sun #1. And there's a second contest in the video, and I'll tell you it's at the end, and it's a nice one. So get on board, jump on board. Check that video out. We greatly appreciate it, and we want you guys to know that we don't want to yet say it's going to be a weekly show or a bi-weekly show or a monthly show, but we are going to come with regular episodes for you. We want to keep that content rolling out for you, and I think through the summer we'll be able to get a multitude of it. Brian and I will be in Baltimore. Andy and I will be in Charlotte for Heroes Con, and that's just to start. That's what we've just begun talking. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And
Big Leg is in the chat asking who's going to Heroes Con.
I will be at Heroes Con. Andy will be at Heroes Con.
Yeah. Forgotten Five. I don't know if you know who those guys are, Sean, but Forgotten Five's going to be there.
And Mike Morello, who is the writer of Cover Tunes, will also be at Heroes Con. And I've heard some rumors we might get the Reading Piles Dan Piercy out there. That's the rumor. The old Santa Claus of comics. We might get my man out there. So I think if we speak his name loud enough, he may come to fruition. So let's let him know we need him in Charlotte.
Yeah, Heroes Con in Charlotte. Downright Nerdy Podcast is asking. Yeah, and it's Forgotten Five, not to be confused with Ben Folds 5. But, so that kind of, just to bring it all into a close here, great Bolo list. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't think it was a huge week, but I think the titles that came out were some really great titles. I thought it was like one of those small, some weeks where you got like monster titles coming out and there's so much. So to me, it was kind of light on the wallet, but the titles that you did pick up were good.
Yeah, it's definitely not a buy and run home to list on eBay week. It's more of like a, take your time, see what you like, buy something that you feel like is going to have some legs down the road. I think definitely it's not a spend out week. It's more of a, reinvest some profits, buy what you like week.
Right. So, he reiterated the indie spotlight. We're going to try to get Andy to get a cowboy hat and just sit back there with his feet up on the desk and some cowboy boots with some straw hanging, because he's got the perfect accent for it. So we're gonna build him a little character. Not really, he won't agree to that, but it would be cool if he did. But yeah, definitely check out, like he said, the Man Cave Studios interview was a great interview. And we do have more to come on that. We're gonna try to reach out. We're reaching out to other indie publishers. We have some stuff in the works, but
anybody out there, any publishers out there, or artists or comic creators who hear this, we know we get feedback sometimes that you guys end up seeing this show. So if you're out there and you see this and you got something you want to promote or you want to get on the show, get in touch with us. We're open. We just want to showcase indie comics. Yeah. So we're open to talk to anybody in the industry.
Right. So, with that being said, you have anything else before we close, Jack?
Just again,
like and subscribe.
comicbookinvest.com. Yeah, like and subscribe. Head to comicbookinvest.com. Right now, we got that link in the bio. Queen of Bad Dreams #1. It will sell out. I'm confident. Detective Comics 31 homage from the mind of the genius Ben C. And yeah, it's live. So go ahead and grab it. And again, we're not putting the governor on you. So if you want to grab 4 or 5 copies, by all means, do your thing. It is speculation, right? So.
And with that, just like he said, thanks again for everyone coming to the chat tonight. Really appreciate it. If you could, make sure you click that thumbs up button. Let your friends know also. Man, this is one of the best nights in the chat. I don't have the chat up on the video anymore because we kind of wanted to clean it up a little bit. But for those that were in the chat tonight or you watch it back on the replay, great conversation. There's some funny stuff. If you saw my expression during the video tonight, I was probably watching some of the chat conversation. But thanks for everyone joining it, and those watching on the replay. And those, if you're listening to it as a podcast, thanks for downloading. Really appreciate it. Really grateful. Every week, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Jack and I are doing the Bolo list. And we'll see you guys next week.